Look, you better be thankful and be glad it is. Grand rising, grand rising. The things are changing and it's going to be beautiful. Okay. We might have to go through 3 days of darkness, but hey, listen. Hey, hey. When the new sun appears, it's going to be beautiful. Okay. We might have to go through 3 days of darkness, but you know, scientists did say we in the end times right now. So that's what them scientists said. That's what them scientists said. We in the end times, allegedly, supposedly. But the end is the beginning because that's how life works. Life don't work on a timeline of a straight line. Life works in a spiral. So the end is just a new beginning. But people don't understand that. Then you would understand alchemy. You wouldn't be so caught up in this unaliving process. You'll realize that there's no such thing as an unaliving process. And what is always was and always will be. And if what is always was and always will be, then you've been here since the beginning of the times. Since we decided to make man in our image and likeness, you've been here. But that's okay though. People have a hard time remembering their self. Yeah, it's okay. That's why we down here. To help you remind you who you are.
Predecessors to our human angelic race line, the Lyran Syrian whites are also called Anahazi, a feline hominid seated by the 12D Elohii, one of the three Christos founder races that created the Oraphim. Anahazi is the original first externally spoken language in our universe, and is the natural language of the Christos founders race. It is the original light language of our ancient ancestors. The Lyran Syrian whites or Anahazi are human elders. They are pale-skinned hominid Syrian race frequently called the guardian founders, who protect the diamond sun body and 12-strand DNA.
Now, this story has been translated over and over again. I mean, if you look up Isis, Osiris, boring Horus, if you look up Horus, you'll actually see that Horus had two moms. Isis was one of them, but there was also a feline. There was a feline. This is where the importance of the Egyptian cat comes in, so on and so forth, because this is the feline hominoid seed of the Elohim, right? Now, of course, once you get into the breakdown of this story has changed throughout the times to where as though you might not truly understand exactly what timeline you want to, embark upon in intaking this knowledge, right? Because all of us have fragments of different timelines. I don't know how far your timeline goes because I don't know how far you are in as far as mastering your vessel, right? Some people might master their vessel to just understanding the 12 zodiac signs of the central sky, right? Some people might master their vessel to understand the 12 that you see and the 12 that you don't see, which is the 6 that's in the northern sky and the 6 that's in the southern sky that makes up 24. Some of you guys might master your vessel into understanding that 24, right? Some of you might master the vessel to understanding the 48, which is the 24 and the 24 that comes together, right? Then some of you might master your vessel into a grander expansion of consciousness to understand the 88 constellational sky, right? Now, the reason why I use it in the form of the constellations is because it is an expansion, right? So if it's a 12 central sky, then around that 12, there's another band that exists of 24. Around that 24 band, there's another band that exists of 48. Now, it doesn't stop any of the other constellations from operating, hence why all of this stuff is in operating at the same time simultaneously. Now, a lot of scientists that's doing studies right now will tell you that everything is happening at the same time and they're studying timelines now. They can see when a timeline is heading in a bad direction or a good direction. They're studying this now. Now, I want you to think about that. How? How are they studying timelines to say what timeline is heading in a bad direction or a good direction? What are they studying? Right? A lot of things have changed since, that last solar eclipse, right? And a lot of things not only have changed, but it changed right here in America. Mystery Babylon, X marks the spot, right? They gave you all of the knowledge, they gave you all of the information. It's just that we didn't put it together. That means a certain level of people will awaken in here in America, a priesthood, right? They didn't want that priesthood to awaken here in America because that priesthood has been hidden here in America, right? That priesthood hid in the land of Canaan and started taking on the ways of the Canaanites. Mystery Babylon. That priesthood has awakening. The seeds of that priesthood has awakening. Ascendant masters has awakening, right? Now, they don't want you to tell you who it is that they're looking for, but they know they're looking for a certain energy that has awakening here in America. And they're corrupting it with different variations of false lights. They're leading you astray by pointing you in the direction of all of this negativity. They know certain variations of your brain has woken up and they're doing everything in their power to keep you unconscious, right? It's your brain has woken up so much that everything is starting to look fake to you. You starting to doubt everything. You like, man, this shit ain't real. Ain't no way this shit real. This is not real. This got to be, you know what I mean? You starting to look at, movies and seeing the outline of the movie. All of it is played out, you know. The actor in the movie is talking to the camera now. You thinking, damn, you ain't even supposed to know I'm here. You get what I'm saying? They ain't even trying to be sneaky about this shit anymore. They just in our face with the bullshit. It's okay though. It's okay. We got this, guys. We got this. We're going to help each other understand.
The Lemurian Holocaust and the Ayani Massacre in Kauai, and the persecution events near the 12D Stargate of Montsegur, were direct planned assaults upon the matriarchal society in Solar Feminine Christos Sophia. Many of the inhabitants were direct descendants of the original seeding of Melchizedek's. These were female staff holders that were tasked with the important job as keepers of the blue flame and were called Mu'e. These main groups were Solar Feminine Melchizedeks, and they were protectors of the crystalline network of Mothers Sophianic template and guardians of the North and South ley
Now,
lines.
you
Upon the
might be
onset of the
thinking,
Lemurian Holocaust,
hold on.
this event opened our planetary grid network to the extremely destructive anti-human agendas of the Draco entity invasion. The keepers of the blue flame and the Mu'e females with original staff holder genetic codes underwent a series.
Now, you might be thinking, what is they talking about? What does they mean by that? Right? Well, if you go back to the Mountain Dew, the Dew Blast, the Maui situation with the whole island of Maui, right? And if you realize that according to the history of man, Lumeria is up under the Hawaii Islands, right? And there's an energy that's coming from Lumeria, also known as the land of Mu, right? The Queen Mu, right? who gave certain levels of knowledge to the Egyptians at one point, right? And then you come to the realization of exactly why they are telling you that aliens come from the ocean, right? One's in the chat if you understand. One's in the chat if you understand. One's in the chat. One's in the chat. Yes. 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 I'm trying to pull you up to date with everything that's going on. Trying to help you. Trying to help you understand. I promise you, I'm trying to help you. Okay. So they telling you these different things is going on, right? You know, they are doing exactly what it is that they've been doing. It tells you that the Draco tunnels between Lumeria and Atlantis, right? So they're telling you that, under us, there's a lot of activity going on and something is taking place, in these tunneling systems. Now, of course, according to what they told us in Earth Science in the 90s, the Earth is going through plate tectonic, plate shift tectonic, so on and so forth, right? They told us that, right? But then as you get older and you study, you realize that we really only went 8 miles into our crust. So we haven't really got to the core of things. I mean, Mr. Owl might not really have told us how many licks it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of the Tootsie Pop. So we know something ain't right. You know, we know something ain't right. 8 miles into the crust is not going to get us to this idea of a core that they say, right? According to certain levels of studies, they are finding caverns with whole civilization, plantation, all types of stuff, right? They are trying to tell us that, Japan released information that said that they just now said that they got over 1,000 some islands out there because they reclassified sandbars as islands now, right? All of this stuff coming out, all of this new knowledge coming out, right? The world is trying to show us something new. The world trying to show us something different. A different flow of life is taking place. Certain variations of pyramids is waking up. They not telling you this stuff. They manipulative in how they tell you it because they got to place the fear on it. They don't want you to know how wonderfully made your brain is because then all things become possible to you. And if all things become possible, then we living in a different world, ain't we? If we move to a mindset of all things becoming possible, then we in a whole new world, ain't we? So of course, they will want to manipulate different variations of this information because it's supposed to be a slow process. You can't just overload somebody's mainframe with this level of knowledge because there's no telling how they would apply it to their, life or their true intentions. This is the operation of intentions. This is stronger than the 369 process of manifestation, right? This is collectively a bunch of people getting a grander understanding collectively, right? You move at a collective space, you be able to, a star might fall out the sky and create another pyramid. You hear me? A star might fall out the sky, create another pyramid down here. That's how big this is. But you won't know.
Recent grid work activity has been acutely focused upon the
Because they
reclaiming of the
separate us
12D Stargate of
collectively.
Kauai, which has brought another spiritual gift, this time in the form of the cosmic mother rainbow dragon. See Atlantean's solar dragon Queen Merida and Yana. The Lemurian Holocaust and the Ayani massacre in Kauai, and the persecution events near the 12D Stargate of Montsegur, were direct planned assaults upon the matriarchal society in solar feminine Christos Sophia. Many of the inhabitants were direct descendants of the original seeding of Melchizedek's, These were female staff holders that were tasked with the important job as keepers of the blue flame and were called Mu'e. These main groups were solar feminine Melchizedeks, and they were protectors of the crystalline network of Mother's Sophianic template and guardians of the north and south ley lines. Upon the onset of the Lemurian Holocaust, this event opened our planetary grid network to the extremely destructive anti-human agendas of the Draco entity invasion. The keepers of the blue flame and the Mu'e females with original staff holder. Ongoing work in the Christos mission was finding her many body parts and pieces in the Mu'e lineage for the reclamation of the solar feminine Christ Sophianic template, and this was necessary in order to free her solar dragon queen consciousness from repeatedly running the lunar matrix and Holocaust histories through AI control matrices. Many clones of the solar dragon queens had been placed underground in the crystal caverns, where black dragon AI hybrids were put in her place and controlled by the lunar matrix. The extensive lunar female demonic force constructs inserted underground all over the globe made it impossible for the higher aspects of the Holy Mother and her cosmic mother of dragon solar Sophianic forms to fully embody on the planet. To restore cosmic.
Now, a lot of y'all might not know none of that of what it's talking about. These are different storylines that played out throughout our time. It's fragments of this stuff. So you might catch certain words and stuff like that, white buffalo woman teaching different things like that, the 7 powers of the light, seven sons, these different things are part of the story that is, always was, and always will be. They just been repeated down here over and over again, right? So your body is broken up into 12 your DNA strand is broken up into 12 strands of your DNA. RNA, protein, all of these things are part of your vessel, your body. So in order to like understand exactly certain levels of spiritual base, you would have to know base codes, acceleration codes, which is known as vector codes, or basically it's a long story, but these would be the dino electrons or the minotrons within inside the body that allows your DNA to function more, right? So right now we're operating 12 out of the 12 strands of our DNA, we're using 4 strands, okay? So with the process of everything, we're going to come into a greater notion of using more strands of our DNA, thus far acquiring greater abilities, right?
Current science defines DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, as the hereditary material in humans and almost all other organisms.
Allegedly.
Nearly every cell in a person's body has the same DNA. DNA is a molecule that encodes the genetic instructions used in the development and functioning of all known living organisms and many viruses. DNA is a nucleic acid. Alongside proteins and carbohydrates, nucleic acids compose the 3 major macromolecules essential for all known forms of life. 1. However, the Emerald Guardians inform us that the original human DNA imprint is referred to as the silicate matrix, and is a 12-strand diamond sun DNA template. Since the Luciferian rebellion, humanity's DNA was unplugged and higher functioning DNA was lost. DNA, RNA, and proteins. All living beings are reliant on 3 main molecules for essentially all of their biological functions.
For entertainment purposes only.
These molecules are DNA, RNA, and proteins. The 2 strands of DNA run in opposite directions to each other and are therefore adjacent to each other, antiparallel. It is the sequence of these 4 nitrogen bases along the backbone that encodes biological information. Under the genetic code, RNA strands are translated to specify the sequence of amino acids within proteins. These RNA strands are initially created using DNA strands as a template in a process called transcription. Without DNA, RNA, and proteins, no biological life would exist on Earth. Chemicals of life. Chemicals are substances made of one or more elements bonded together, which generally indicates the chemical interaction that happens between the substances. A chemical substance is a form of matter having constant chemical composition and characteristic properties. However, when discussing the fundamental process of DNA, we are primarily concerned with the proteins, which are the chemicals of life. 2. DNA proteins. In DNA, the nitrogenous base.
Okay. So basically what you're going to hear is them breaking down what is DNA, right? So you have a masculine side and a feminine side of your vessel, right? When you are equally yoked, this is when all of these vector codes and base codes are firing off one another, right? These are called your fire letters, right? So as these solar flares change our mental and our operation starts to change, right? This is what is considered to be your DNA fire letters, right? You start having a more level of notion for oneself, dignity of yourself, emotional intelligence, so on and so forth, because you'll start having a greater awareness of your conscious, right? So you'll start, certain things will become second nature to you because that will have to be your physical. Your physical things will become second nature because your mind will be in a higher level of oneself, right? So going to work, all those levels of conversation about the carnal, they would just be. You don't have to tell anybody about how someone day go because we all know how a day or what a day consists of, right? So when you go into higher levels of yourself, you want the higher levels of stimulation of conversation. You don't want those same grapevine conversations that's going on. Did you hear what happened with this person? Did you hear what happened with that person? This person did this person did that, this person. That shit became old a long time ago. You want a higher stimulation of conversation, right? So this is where your mind starts to advance. This is where you start to yearn for a different uh you know seduction, right? So now certain people don't are not attracted anymore. You're not attractive to certain people anymore, you know? That thing ain't getting wet to just anything. You looking for, you know, something different, you know, your body responding different. You feel it. You like, man, shit. I ain't, the old things don't attract you anymore. You yearning for something different now. You looking at people like, say some intelligent shit. Ooh, say that intelligent shit again. Ooh.
The main biological function of a nitrogenous base in DNA is to bond nucleic acids together. Adenine is always paired with thymine, and guanine is always paired with cytosine. These are known as base pairs. Uracil is only present in RNA, replacing thymine and pairing with adenine. Both RNA and DNA use base pairs, male plus female, as a complementary language that can be converted back and forth between the DNA to RNA by the action of the correct enzymes. This male-female language or based paired structure provides a backup copy of all genetic information encoded within double-stranded DNA.
Now, you might not know the importance of what this is saying, but basically the RNA comes from your mother, and the RNA is something that is more attached to your spiritual side, your galactic family, so on and so forth. So even though we get majority of our DNA from the seed and everybody wants to praise the seed and the father who planted the seed, guess what? Women, with that RNA, it's very important because you can't get that from uh the male side. You can't get it. You can't get it. I'm sorry, you can't.
The original human DNA pattern is arranged into 12 dimensionalized mathematical programs, each of which set the blueprint for one DNA strand. Each strand is composed of 12 base magnetic, Mayan, female codes, and 12 base electrical, Dion, male acceleration codes. The 12 base codes and 12 acceleration codes hold the mathematical program for each double helix strand, which combine to form a set of 12 vector codes. One base code plus one acceleration code is equal to one vector code. The 12 vector codes of the human genome manifests as 12 nucleotides that form the nucleotide base pairs, which are the entire DNA strands are composed.
Okay, so basically it's telling you 12 base codes, 12 acceleration codes equals one vector code. That is one strand of your DNA. Now it's 12 of those. So it's 12 with inside of 12 that equals one code, right? Now, this goes back to the 24-hour clock. 12 hours that you see, 12 hours that you don't see. We split it up and called it night and day, right? So that means there's 12 energies coming from the moon, 12 energies coming from the sun. We call it the moon sign and the sun sign of the body. Do you guys understand exactly what I'm saying and how I'm putting this together? The revealing of the connection with all things will always lead back to all things.
Composed. Due to the NDC, also called the checkerboard.
Oh, you don't want to tell them about the checkerboard?
Checkerboard mutation unnatural sonic control program installed in the planetary field. Only 4 of the
Yo, why y'all keep stopping my AI from talking?
vector codes have been active in biological Earth life since the Luciferian Rebellion. The foundations of human DNA is miniaturized crystallized frequency, that is, patterns of electromagnetic light that magnetically group into crystalline form. These multidimensional crystalline templates are referred to as DNA seed codes. The DNA seed code, the template for one DNA strand, is composed of 12 magnetic particle units and 12 electrical antiparticle units. Each DNA strand is composed of the frequency patterns and light spectrum of one-dimensional band. Each DNA strand represents a fire letters code program sequence corresponding to one-dimensional frequency band of consciousness. 24 seed codes equals one DNA strand. The level of frequencies that are accreted into the personal morphogenetic field will determine the level of DNA strand assembly that you possess. As a person pulls in more frequency bands from the dimensional unified fields, the personal frequency accretion level rises, and thus, more DNA codes can assemble and activate. Missing chromosomes. On the Earth, human.
Now, this is telling you that once a person starts pulling in more of this light that's coming from the sun, if your body is pulling in more of this light that's coming from the sun, solar flares, whatever you want to call it, then this could accelerate your awakening process. Does that make sense? Because it's making sense to me. And I don't see how it's not making sense to people. One's in the chat if it makes sense. Now, within your chromosomes, this is where that 144 comes back into play. Remember, I keep on telling you, and I keep on going back to the importance of the 144, right? The 144 harmonics. Now you're about to hear about the 144 chromosomes. This goes back to as above, so below, as without, so within, right? So just like it's 144 harmonics, 144 Lie lines, 144 chromosomes, right? Everything leads back to source inside of thyself. So if people are giving you a study of something and it's not leading back to you, then they teaching you wrong. Okay?
Human chromosomes have been tampered with as a result of alien hybridization and genetic modification, and thus, humanity is missing a large amount of chromosomal material at multiple layers of the DNA molecule or strings. We should have 12 chromosomes per DNA strand, and the original human 12-strand DNA silicate matrix has a total of 144 chromosomes. Currently, with an average of 3 active DNA strands for the majority of the Earth population, humans should actually have 36 functioning chromosomes, yet we only have 23 that are active.
See, we should have 36 that's active in the 3 DNA strands that we're using. We don't, right? And this goes back to the 144, right? 144 chromosomes, right? This is the 12 that's in the 12, right? So inside the universal laws, there's 12 within inside of 12. Each law has 12 laws inside of them that equals 144, the 12 within the 12, right?